The story begins 2 years ago in North Korea, where naked Evelyn Salt is being dragged by Korean troops. She is badly bruised, and they are insisting she admits that she is a spy, but she kept saying she's not. They stuck a rubber hose into her mouth, and they poured gasoline in as they beat and kicked her. Ted Winter, head of the CIA, came to rescue her and told her that Mike, her husband, petitioned the State Department and the Senate, and that's why they came to rescue her, to avoid a bad reputation. In the present day, Washington, D.C., Salt wishes Mike a happy anniversary in the morning and asks to make him breakfast. At work, Ted finds her watching videos on how to fold a napkin, and she tells him she wants the anniversary to be perfect. As they were leaving the building, they were told a Russian defector walked in and he needed to be interviewed. His name is Orlov, and he tells Salt he has cancer. He then started to confess about a story that happened in 1975. A Russian spy, who was stolen from his parents as a baby, named Alec, was sent to America in 1962. A year after that, he became a hero of the Soviet Union by completing his tasks successfully. He was then given a mission to train babies to be substituted for Americans. Chenkov was one of the kids who were programmed physically and psychologically to be as strong as iron. He got into America through adoption, but soon his parents died in a car accident. He waits patiently for the day to attack from within. The mission was to kill the president of Russia at the funeral of the American vice president. Soon they all learned that Chenkov was Cold War legend K.A., who was inserted into the American society to sabotage and assassinate their own president. Ted couldn't agree with their theory and told Salt to wrap it up. Salt asks Orlov what he wants in return for the information he gave them, but he wishes they do what they need to do. Salt tells him that the story he discussed was a lie and that she must leave. Orlov accused Salt of being the Russian agent who was sent to spy. They were all shocked by the new information, and Peabody seemed to believe she was a spy. Orlov attacks and kills the security guards who were escorting him in an elevator, and leaves the building without any traces of him. 2 minutes before a lockdown. Salt was also trying to leave, but Ted and Peabody were following her from the security room. Salt called her husband, Mike, and learned he left, and his phone wasn't working too. When she couldn't escape, she put a fire extinguisher on all of the cameras before Peabody called out a unit and went to get her. Ted stayed in the security room to call out for her. Peabody looked through Salt's profile and saw that her parents died just like Orlov said. Salt enters a room and covers the camera with her underwear as the team gets to where she is. Ted calls her and she tells him to call her when he finds her husband before she hangs up. She made a bomb from the fire extinguisher and fired it at the team when they were about to gas her. She then takes a gun from Peabody and leaves the building through a window. Assuming that she will go to her house, Ted and Peabody leave to look for her. After Salt gets into a taxi, she tries to contact Mike again, but his phone is still off. She destroyed her SIM card, and she thought back to when Ted asked her to befriend Mike, as he was important to their mission in North Korea. When she got to her home, she called out for Mike, but he wasn't there. Her dog leads her to a chair on the floor, and she sees a vision of Mike being attacked. Soon, she grabs her bag and leaves the apartment with her dog and one of Mike's spiders. The CIA agents made it to her house and broke in. She went in through the window and got into a neighbor's house. Peabody is leaving her house when Ted states that maybe the Russian could be lying. Salt gave her dog to a neighbor's kid and had a flashback of the first time she had Mike in a museum. He showed her the spider he discovered and how he named him. Salt was then discovered by Ted as she was walking to the metro station, and they started to chase her. Running through the crowd of people, she runs into Peabody and many more agents. Soon, they cornered her, and she told them she was innocent, but she had to find her husband. She jumped onto a truck as Peabody shot at her. She then skips to a tank as they keep firing at her, but they lose her. Running through traffic after she fell off a car, Salt then finds a motorbike. Ted and Peabody were chasing her with their car when their road got blocked and they got stuck. Peabody decides they need to go to New York as soon as possible. Salt got into a club and wore a beanie before she took the bus. The news was reporting about the vice president's funeral that's going to happen tomorrow, and that the Russian president will be attending too. Salt had a flashback of her and Mike after she left the North Korean prison. She told him that he shouldn't have come, and that there was no future for them because she worked for the CIA. As presumed by Peabody, Salt makes it to New York and books a hotel room. Once she made it to her room, she wore contact lenses and put down all her weapons before taking a sample from the spider Mike discovered. She prints out the map of the subway subway. She had a flashback of her and other agents taking oath as they joined the CIA while she dyed her hair black. The next day, Salt was at the funeral of the vice president, where Ted and Peabody were also present. The Russian president, Boris, was there for the ceremony, as he was the vice president's friend. Salt travels on a train where she drops a smoke to make a distraction as she jumps off the train and goes under a subway basement. Salt attacks police officers inside where the funeral is taking place, and Boris is making a speech. Peabody goes over to check it out. Salt gets into a fight with more officers before she blows the roof off of the subway. The Russian president came down as the floor crumbled to the basement, and people gathered to rush and leave the place. Under the dust-filled basement, Salt got caught by Peabody and other agents. As she was leaving while being handcuffed, Ted tried to confront her about why she did it, but Peabody and others restrained him when Salt quietly walked to a police car. Ted tells Peabody that the Russian president was pronounced dead on the way to the hospital. Peabody confesses that she had the chance to shoot him before she got caught, but she didn't, which left them both speechless. Salt had a flashback of herself when she was a kid, after she got her new face after her parents' car accident. She was being questioned by her friend, Schneider, who kept calling her Natasha. Schneider then asks if she will miss him, but she tells him now her name is Evelyn Salt. Back in the police car, Salt attacks the police officers and starts to drive the car, while using the injured officer as a driver. She makes the car jump over a bridge and lands on another truck. She leaves the car while uncuffing herself. When a group of people gather around to help the injured driver, she walks away, stealing a hat from a shop. As she was traveling on a yacht, she remembers a talk she had with a man, Orlov, before being brought to America. They talked about her training, and the man promised her that he would come to all of them, since there were many more like her everywhere, waiting to attack. Once she made it to the shore, she met up with Orlov, who was watching the news. He tells her she wasn't supposed to get married, but she said she did it to seem normal. He tells her that she is his greatest creation. Orlov then takes Salt to a warehouse, and she asks if they have her husband. Orlov tells her he has to be sure. He tells her that they will now seize control of the country's atomic weapons. Soon, they went under the warehouse where he showed her tied up Mike inside a tank and asked if she was ready to watch him die. She asked for the gun, but Orlov said that would be too easy and ordered Mike to be drowned in water as Salt watched him die, tears in her eyes. They raised a toast for Salt since their sister has now rejoined them after her mission. He tells her they will have one more mission before they go dark, and she will not hear from him again. Salt smashes a bottle on Orlov's head before she stabs his neck to death. She then takes guns and a handful of bombs before she drops them on all the people she has trained with and kills them all. She starts to think of Mike on their wedding night as she watches his body floating in the tank. In a plane that's assigned for her, her old friend Schneider comes up to her and asks her if she's missed him. She recognized him by the bruise on his face. He is now a colonel, and he tells her that she will help him to kill the American president at the White House and that she will be his attaché. Later at night, Salt gets dressed as a man named Major Vivek and goes to the White House with Schneider, whose name now is Colonel Thomas. Ted was also at the White House as he explained about Salt's past and her mission. The president arrives as Schneider tells Salt that she has a big mission and he will be going home. As he was speaking, he pushed Salt aside and started shooting at everyone, which resulted in him being shot. He then set off the bomb he was carrying, and an explosion was created. Using the chaos created by Schneider, Salt takes a key and runs upstairs to remove her costume. Ted tells his colleagues that he saw her and starts to follow her. As the president is being taken by his guard in an elevator, Salt follows them from above the elevator, and through a bunker they go in to keep the president safe. Ted explains to the president that it could be the beginning of Day X. They soon learn that Russia is deploying their missiles to the field, and the president orders that they need to look at their nuclear attack options. Salt then jams the outer door and destroys the security cameras. Hence, no one can enter the facility that they're in. The president talked with some leaders to get an authentication code for their nuclear weapons. Salt beats some more officers and gets to the bunker where the president and Ted are. Ted then starts to shoot at everyone that's in the bunker and confesses that his name is Nikolai and shoots the president as Salt approaches. Salt asks to join Ted in the room after she discovers that he's one of them. He was getting ready to send missiles to Mecca and Tehran. She insists that she join him and that he was letting her in when he saw on the news that the Russian president was alive. alive, the presumption was only because he got paralyzed from a toxin found in spider venom that was given to him. Salt tells Ted that Orlov is dead, and he confesses that he knew she wasn't loyal to the Russians after she fell in love with Mike. She starts shooting and banging the bulletproof glass between them. She then destroys a wall and gets in with Ted after starting a shooting. At first, Ted overpowers her by beating her, but she goes ahead and aborts the missile launch as the security team arrives and shoots her. Ted pretends to be the CIA agent while they take Salt away. She then strangles Ted on her way to the helicopter. Peabody is informed about Orlov's and the team's death and asks Salt why she did it before he punches her. She tells him Ted was in on it from the beginning and that he has to decide for himself about who to trust since Ted is now dead. He then unchains her and she jumps into the water in mid-air. The movie ends as Salt runs through the woods escaping. Sometime later, the media reported that the new USA president has announced all the sleep agents, including Salt, were eliminated, and he traveled to Russia where he also laid flowers at a site where his parents were killed, indicating that he was one of the sleep agents. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.